No.
This build's about bulk horsepower. Let's go to summer nuts, take the roof off, fly it up, big burnouts.
Welcome back to the channel. We're up in Queensland to visit our good friend Justin at Patriot and Kent with High Torque Performance. We've got the Patriot Gladiator, which has been on the internet a little bit of late, but our history goes back a fair way with both e-lockers and superchargers.
We probably started working with you guys, I think back when we built Sarah's white Ram.
1500.
That's 4, maybe 5 years ago.
Pre-COVID.
We've since sold that car. Sarah's in the new 1500 Ram. We're running on the e-lockers now. Boys are running on the e-lockers in the GU build. And now this big thing behind us.
And there's a bit of a backstory to the Jeep. You've had some exposure in the US. We've both got our companies that are over there, but Jeep's huge in that US market and it's probably unloved in the local market.
I'm hoping that we're going to try and change the mentality a little bit here in Australia, because what we did, like right back in season 1 of Patriot Games, we went out to Moab, rented 3 Jeeps, Rubicon, so factory lockers, factory sway bar disconnects, 37 bolt on the things, and what they're actually capable of. I think here in Australia, everyone's so focused on big towing capacity, and that's why the Jeep as a play vehicle is probably not as popular here, but hopefully with the build behind us, we can change a little bit of that thought.
And for those that don't know, they come with a 3.6 litre V6 petrol. Again, in our market, not really that popular. You rang me up and said, I've got a project.
When we've done a big build with Dynatrack in the States on a project called Code X. So they actually put a Hellcat motor into a Gladiator, one of the first Gladiators with Dynatrack 60s. The biggest problem with the Jeeps is the axles. They're like toothpicks. Yeah. When you start running big tyres, you put 37s or 40s on the Jeep. The axles are the biggest issue. So once we kind of started that phase 1 and put the axles in, it was kind of like, what are we doing with this stupid 3.6 litre motor? You know. That's when I got on the phone to you. We got our hands on the HEMI, and obviously, if you're going to go and put a V8 in there, why not put a big boosty thing on top, right?
Oh, you've got to finish it off nicely.
And that's where these guys kind of came into it. So the relationship, I think, between the 3 companies, pushing the boundaries, trying to do something that's never been done before.
So the Rams we know have got the 5.7 litre, but this is the big boy, the 6.4.
Yep. We don't actually officially have an affiliation with Jeep or FCA Australia, but made a phone call. I said, look, we want to do this project, and they came back to me, hey mate, guess what? We've got a 6.4 on the shelf here we were using to do some testing in Australia. Do you want the engine? Hell yeah, we want the engine. And that's when we got it delivered directly to you. You guys done your development, done the fitment, and then the motor came up here to obviously be installed by the boys here at High Torque.
We received the engine fresh in the crate, and we've essentially taken our TVS2650 and made the changes to adapt it to the 6.4. And there's a few little idiosyncrasies that make it specific for this engine platform. The boys at High Torque, we've got a massive history, or Dealer of the Year, multiple years running, and we knew that we were in capable hands in terms of getting the install done. Talk us through the challenges.
The biggest challenge was obviously the transmission. That was one thing we didn't know how well it was going to fit. Actually fits in there really good. I think the engine looks at home in there.
And even after the Brisbane 4x4, the amount of comments that we got, it looks factory.
And that's the first. I think it works really well. I mean, obviously we had steering box clearance issues and all that sort of stuff, but belt clearance, everything like that, everything works. It's a good engine combo. Obviously in this scenario, we're chasing a lot of horsepower, but that blower on a factory 6.4 with 5 PSI boost, it's going to go forever.
This thing was always meant to make big horsepower, you know. Well, I've had the experience with, again, Sarah's car. So if we go back to the 1500, you know, and she still talks about that car. She is still really upset at me that I actually sold that and got her into the new e-torque model because of the power that thing delivered, you know. We took that thing all the way around Australia. It pre-ran Fink, went up and down the Fink track. I think we put 60,000 kilometres on it. Fuel consumption I think for a supercharged engine was very, very surprising, even towing. We were in that car towing a Patriot like an X-Range camper trailer. We were still at like 22 litres per 100. That's what I was getting out of a 1VD in my 200 series towing, you know what I mean? But the power delivery was always there when you needed it.
And linear.
And linear. Like it's there, it's constant, and I think that's the big advantage of, you know, even coming from the 79 series world and my 6x6, you know, with a big turbo and boost, they're not really suited to those off-road conditions. Towing, you know, you get that lag. When you're climbing mountains and that sort of stuff, you get the lag. But I think with the Supercharger, it just makes a lot more sense for an off-road vehicle. This build was never about that.
No.
This build's about bulk horsepower. Let's go to summer nuts, take the roof off, 5 up, big burnouts.
And some touring though, like you want to go and do some good,
Mate, 100%.
good trips.
So for season 7 of Patriot Games, for next season, we've got some big trips planned for this, some big long distance trips. I'm probably not going to give that away here where we're going. But I want a vehicle that I can do everything that I do with, but have a hell of a lot of fun like I would with a street car that you guys build every day.
And the Trans is actually, they're awesome, those 8-speed ZFs. Like you really almost can't get anything better in terms of just the way the power is delivered. And
It shifts perfect. Like it's, for the power we've got there, I still feel it's 600, 700, 800 horsepower. It's still going to shift perfectly. You know, we can program it for the 40s and it drives like a factory car.
The gearing on the axles is perfect. The 40s have got tons of clearance with all that articulation. The power now out of the HEMI, the shift pattern of that transmission, it really, I can daily this car, no problems.
you got it built, you went and did some skids, had some fun, we broke it.
We knew it was going to happen. Like the motor, you had the pistons and rods here ready to go.
I did. I did.
And look, I pushed these guys at the start. Like it was always to put the boost in that I wanted from the car, to make the power that I wanted from the car. These guys were like, dude, glass pistons, yeah, whatever. We need to get this thing in. Like typical me, just get the thing in. I want to drive it. We'll worry about that later on. That was a big mistake. A big mistake. But we had a failure. There was a reason for it, right?
On this particular setup, or the conversion side of it, we've got twin pumps that feeds into one single line which feeds the front of the car. We've had one of the fuel pumps has failed on this, so that's obviously why, if we had both fuel pumps fail, the engine wouldn't run at all. But the fact that we've had one, we're losing 20-30% of the fuel supply, and then that's obviously what's smoked the pistons out.
I was anticipating when we did that first burnout that it'd be your typical electronic pattern shift gearbox, that it won't hold an RPM. Once I bounce the thing off the limiter a couple of times, it'll shift up. So if you watch the episode, you know, I'm tipping the thing in, and as I'm tipping it in, you know, I've got the RPM right up, and then the car will be like, over. And then I'm like, did the gearbox just shift? And I'm thinking, must have been. So I tried it 2 or 3 times, but watching it back now after the fact, it was the thing just running out of fuel.
And obviously we had to build an engine to get it back running to then go to dyno to work that out. So, you know, it wasn't, we didn't have any data that saved on this ECU system.
Well, I messaged you and I said, rods and pistons, good insurance for HEMI. And so that's what you've done. We've got upgraded rods, pistons, camshaft.
We've done a small cam, so very similar specs to like a Demon camshaft in it, because we still want 100% drivability. You know, when he's rock crawling or whatever, we don't want the jerkiness of coming off a converter and all that sort of stuff. So we've got a very basic camshaft, but then something, you know, the Demon cam is designed for boost every day, so I think it'll work really well with it.
The performance numbers, so it did get dynoed, and it's in your video on Patriot Games TV. So made, what, 550?
551 or 552 at the hubs, which very, very surprisingly, it's the same power as my TRX with the Hellcat motor. Exactly the same power. So that's prior to pistons, prior to rods. How much boost were we running there?
In the TRX, I think we're about 1 bar, so we're 14 pound, whereas on this we're about 6, 7.
So at about 6 PSI. So I think efficiency-wise, I think this has probably got it over the TRX.
Definitely.
But once we turn it up, then we'll have a big drag race, and I think we'll see the difference. So that was actually really impressive.
Well, I think it's a great idea. The TRX, it runs a 6.2, but it's not an Eaton TVS blower, it's an IHI, slightly smaller than the 2650, but it's got all the good gear now. So I think with fuel system upgraded, once we get this on the dyno, it'll be a great comparison, then we can line them up. And next time I come to visit, we've got to go for a drive.
Mate, it's actually really unfortunate you've flown all the way up here and haven't had a drive in it, because this is the most fun I've ever had in a car, because you don't expect it. And that's really what I want, you know? But I wanted that build that was just so different, so unique, a 4-wheel drive with that much horsepower. I think there's going to be a lot of fun to be had in this.
And the exciting thing for us, the 6.4 in the US is very, very popular for the HEMI Chrysler guys.
Yeah.
And we're going to offer this 2650 package as an engine kit. So if there's other guys out there that want to do a swap just like Justin, give us a call. Jobs like this just don't happen. You and I come up with great ideas, but it's Kent and his team and Dallas that really make the mechanical side and the calibration
100%.
work. But engine swaps are not core business. You've got a really diverse selection of customers.
We get a massive range of cars here. You know, obviously the Jeep was one that we'd love to jump on board with, and then you know, working with Justin, and then obviously having the Harrop blower on it. But it's not our core what we do here. We do a lot of dyno tuning, a lot of performance engine building. Power crews is another big part of our business. You know, we supply a lot of cars and engines for customers in that. The drift scene. Keeps us busy all year round, and yeah, we love being a part of any of these projects.
To see this thing out in action, get onto YouTube and watch Patriot Games. They've got some great adventures planned. High torque performance. Get onto their socials to see more of their incredible facility and builds that are happening all the time. Check out HarropTV and look at our website for more info on our 6.4 HEMI kit. See you next time.